You've probably watched a fish in an aquarium at some point, maybe at a doctor's office, maybe at a friend's house, maybe in your own living room. And if you watched long enough, you noticed something strange. The fish never stops moving. It just keeps swimming, drifting, circling, all day, all night. No matter what time you look, those eyes are open, staring at nothing, going nowhere in particular. So at some point, a thought crosses your mind. Does this thing ever sleep? Does it get tired? And if it does sleep, how? It has no eyelids, it never lies down, it never closes its eyes, it just keeps floating there like the concept of rest doesn't apply to it. That question is actually more interesting than it sounds, because the answer challenges something most of us assume without even realizing it. For most of human history, people didn't really think about whether fish slept. Fish were food, or they were decoration, or they were something mysterious at the bottom of the ocean. Sleep was a human thing, a mammal thing. You get tired, you close your eyes, you go unconscious for a while, and then you wake up. That was the whole picture. Even scientists for a long time weren't particularly interested in fish sleep. The focus was always on animals that showed obvious sleep behavior. Bears hibernate, dogs curl up and twitch their legs while dreaming. Humans go through clear stages of deep sleep and light sleep that can be measured with machines. These were the animals people studied. Fish were different. Fish seemed like they were always on, always alert, always moving. And so the quiet assumption was that maybe they just don't sleep. Maybe they're simple enough that they don't need to. That assumption turned out to be wrong. Here's what most people believe. Sleep means closing your eyes, becoming unconscious, and lying still. That's the image. And because fish don't do any of those things, people assume fish don't sleep. But that picture of sleep is actually quite narrow. It's based on how humans and a few other mammals sleep. When scientists started looking more carefully at other animals, they realized that sleep is much more flexible than we thought. Sleep, at its core, is not about closing your eyes. It's about the brain and body entering a state of reduced activity, a recovery state, a pause. The specific way that pause looks depends entirely on the animal. Fish do have this pause, they just don't show it the way we expect. When a fish sleeps, it usually finds a quiet spot. Some float near the surface, some sink closer to the bottom, some hide inside rocks or coral or little crevices in an aquarium. Their movement slows down dramatically. Their breathing becomes more regular and rhythmic. They become less responsive to things around them. If you tap the glass gently, a sleeping fish reacts more slowly than a fully awake one. Some fish even change color slightly when they sleep, which is their body's version of relaxing. The reason their eyes stay open is simply that fish have no eyelids. There's nothing to close. But open eyes don't mean a wakeful brain. The brain is still cycling through its rest. The body is still doing its repair work. And here's the part that genuinely surprises most people. Some fish sleep while continuing to move. Certain species, like some types of sharks and tuna, need to keep water flowing over their gills to breathe. If they stop swimming, they stop getting oxygen. So their bodies have adapted to let parts of the brain rest while other parts keep the basic swimming motion going. It's almost like how you can walk a familiar path without really thinking about it. The body runs on autopilot while something deeper in the brain takes a break. So why do we still assume fish don't sleep? Partly because sleep in fish is quiet and invisible. There's no dramatic moment where a fish yawns and lies down. There's no obvious signal. Without those signals, we just don't notice. There's also a habit we have of thinking that if something doesn't look like what we know, it must not exist. Fish don't sleep the way we sleep, so we assume they don't sleep at all. It's a small but common mistake in how we interpret the natural world. The smarter way to think about it is this. Every living creature with a nervous system that we've ever studied shows some version of rest and recovery. The form changes, but the need doesn't go away. Life requires rest. That rule seems to apply almost universally. So the next time you look at a fish and think it never sleeps, look a little closer. If it's hovering quietly near the bottom, barely moving, responding slowly, it might be in the middle of a perfectly good fish nap. It just doesn't need a pillow or a blanket to do it. The truth is, fish taught us something important. Sleep isn't one fixed thing. It's a need that life finds a way to meet, no matter what form that life takes. Nature rarely does things the way we expect, but it almost always does them for a reason. If this gave you a new way of seeing something you thought you already understood, go ahead and like the video. It genuinely helps. Share it with someone who's ever wondered about fish, or about sleep, or about the quiet hidden logic behind things we take for granted. And if you want more of these little windows into the surprising truth behind everyday life, subscribe. There's always more than what's on the surface.